ArriveAlive campaign, where she survived a deadly crash on the Accra-Suhum highway on November 14, 1993. The spot of the accident has been nicknamed Suhum 22 because 22 people were killed. It was an accident involving a 33-seater passenger bus and a cargo truck reported to have been carrying out a dangerous overtaking. As part of our ArriveAlive campaign, Komla Adom has been speaking to 57-year-old Kafui Ekuadansua Akatu, who has now taken to offering education on fire safety to residents and schools around the Adenta Smith Flats here in Accra.
Road traffic accidents is a terrible thing. Imagine just picking a bag that you are going in the cab only to be lifted by ambulance or haze from Suhum Government Hospital for specialist attention in Kolebu.
As she recounts the traumatic experience of November 14, 1993, tears fill the eyes of a retired fire officer who says she is 57 years but has been asked to proceed on retirement. It was a crash that left her permanently scarred with severe injuries to her arm, legs and head 27 years ago.
That accident was tagged as Suhum 22 because it is said 22 deaths were recorded, and it was a 33-seater bus that collided with articulator that was on the 33-seater bus was in its course in its lane from Accra. The articulator was overtaken and met ours on head-on, and the vehicles imagine articulator and 33-seater bus is beyond repairs. But I'm alive, and I know it's a grace, and God has made me survive for a purpose.
Kafui Dansua Akatu's life will change, and for the rest of her active working life in the fire service, she was left redundant, unable to continue her physical education training.
I've been in Kolebu for 1 year. This arm, I had a closed fracture, so it was just in POP beside me, but the leg was so bad that the tibia fibula was compound fracture, my thigh bone. Imagine a physical education, this leg like this. Now I can't run, I can't squat, I can't jog.
It's been a tough one for her, but she's happy she's alive. Alive to impact society the best way she can, championing girl child and fire safety education.
I've been declared as 55% physically challenged and 5% disfigured. And I resumed work from 1995, May thereabout, on light duties. And I've been on light duties till I went on retirement. And I was just made redundant. I was made to be showing up at Medina Fire Station for people not to say that I'm at home collecting salary, and that's my schedule. But I said, no, that's not me. There's something I have to do, which is fire safety education.
She was a fluent spokesperson for the fire service then, she tells me. Today, it's all a past glory.
Actually, I had a cut on my head. And the medical report tells that I've suffered brain contusion. The impact of the accident shook, and I've been in coma. I have all the medical report there.
But she's committing to joining a campaign for safer road transport to save many more lives.
Drivers that they should go within the road limit or the speed that they are supposed to go when they are driving through town, as with that of town and that of highways. So they should observe the rules and not overtake in curves or people who, especially like on the highways where they stop by the roadside. There should be a bypass. A bypass should be created by in those towns like Budu, near Suhum, where mine happened at. But there should be a bypass where the car will park away from the road for those coming to have it straight on and know whether it's safe to go or not. They should just go by the road signs and what is expected of them on the roads.
It's been almost 30 years after the accident, but Kafui is lucky to have survived it. She's thankful that she at least has a voice left, one to say to another driver to be careful on the road, with the expectation that someone would listen.
Psalm 121, I've forgotten the verse 2, but when you go to Psalm 121, they said that we should always pray that God should preserve our going out and coming in, or anything at all can happen. You can be walking and the car will run into you, You can be in your kiosk or your container and a vehicle will run into it and you lose your life. In fact, I've suffered. So you can imagine life was just good. Oh, it's unfortunate.
She wants you to hashtag ArriveAlive.
Still on our ArriveAlive campaign, we focus on the mandatory annual refresher training, which commercial drivers are supposed to do before the renewal of their licenses, but they fail to do so. Today, some 5,000 drivers in the Greater Accra region are currently benefiting from a nationwide training for high occupancy and goods carrying commercial drivers at various centers across the country. The training, which is expected to cover more than 13,000 drivers nationwide, forms part of initiatives by the National Road Safety Authority and key stakeholders like the DVLA and MTTD to reduce carnage on our roads. Marshal Bobo Bay, head of operations at Precise Driving School and an instructor of the initiative, says part of the training focuses on attitude and hazard perception, where presentations on curtailing risk-taking behaviors such as speeding, drunk driving, emotional outburst, among others, are taught.
If you look at the commercial drivers, they operate within, a confined organization, and what government is doing now is to give them certification after retraining. So after the training, we give them certificates to show evidence that yes, you have been in this training. So when you are going for renewal of your license, you will be required to produce that certification, that evidence that you've participated in a training before it is renewed. So once you don't have that evidence to show that you have been trained, then your license should not be renewed.
So the burden lies on who now?
And so the burden lies on all the stakeholders. DVLA is involved, road safety is involved, the training institution is involved, police is involved. Send that certification on renewal of their license at DVLA. And so what it means is that once you have no evidence of training to renew your license, and then you are denied the renewal, your license is invalid. And so when you go back to the road to drive without that certification, you're supposed to be arrested by the police, because they will have to check that you are licensed and you are up to date with your driving skills.
But that is not being done.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that over the years that gap have been there, but now governments have started. From December last year they started the training, they are piloting it, and fortunately for those who have been selected, governments has paid for their training, and so it's free for them. But going forward, we would like to appeal that all the stakeholders should be active, to make sure that this thing work. Because if it works, it means that largely the reduction will come down, because the commercial population is very high, and they are causing a lot of havoc on our roads. And so we will plead that every stakeholder should get involved in this and let it work.
Accidents claim more lives than HIV and AIDS and makes it mandatory for all buses to have seatbelts. That is the latest appeal coming from the Welfare Secretary of the Circle Neoplan Station, Kasim Al-Hassan. His comments come in the wake of JoyNews' ArriveAlive campaign that seeks to record the barest casualties as possible on our roads in accidents this year and for many years to come. The country lost over 2,284 people to motor accidents in 2019 alone. PSA Nanaya Safo has more in this report.
According to Ghana's Road Traffic Act, enacted in 2004, a person of age 18 years and above who drives a motor vehicle or sits in the front seat or behind in the rear seat without a seatbelt commits a criminal offense liable to 6 months in prison. Also, it is mandatory for persons between the age of 5 and 18 to have seatbelt buckled on when driving or in a vehicle at all times. Unfortunately, for most parts of Accra, which JoyNews visited, the situation is far from being implemented.
For Welfare Secretary of the Circle Neoplan Station, Kasim Al-Hassan, seatbelt laws need to be enforced without fear or favor.
My recommendation is that the Minister of Road and Transport to coordinate with our authority. If I talk about authority, like National DPRTU and then other Protoa and other sister stations, so they need to be meeting to discuss the way forward, because accident is one of the things that takes our life than even east and wherever. It should be mandatory for every bus that carry a human being must have a seatbelt. Because when you enter plane, every seat has a seatbelt.
In the meanwhile, JoyNews encourages citizens and passengers alike to speak up on road safety measures, particularly seatbelts in the country. Buckle up, arrive alive.
Certainly you want to arrive alive. I want to keep smiling, and I want us both to be here when I smile, so you take a look.